During the late part of this year 2021, we did hear of strikes where schools like KNUST and other universities were impacted. And yep, like you already know what happens when a strike occurs. No school, no work till the demands have been met. Now we look at some of the issues that were surrounding this UTAG strike and also the involvement of the NLC and how things were in and out of court. Now, you know that there was after the strike, there was an injunction where the people who were involved were faced with the challenge with this injunction against the strike. So there was an application filed by UTAG which was challenging the injunction against the strike, which was by the NLC. Now, even before we go ahead, there was this case in court where, and even the High Court advised the National Labour Commission to sit, with the UTAG so that they could settle the disputes out of court over this industrial action about this strike that was being taken on. Now, Justice Frank Roxon Abuadwin said that it was going to be a good idea to settle the matter out of court. Well, he urged the two parties to do so if possible before things got out of control. Because with such issues, you'd only notice that time is lost, energy is lost, and also the students who are supposed to be taught in schools will be losing out due to such occurrences. Now, on August 2nd, UTAG began an industrial action over what we've been hearing over the years, the failure of the government to restore some 2012 salary levels of its members. So this, amongst others, were part of the reasons why the strike was held. And then when it happened, the Friday after that, the National Labour Commission also secured an interlocutory injunction from the Accra High Court to compel the UTAG to return to work. So this was what sparked the little fracas between the two. Now, some time ago, the UTAG also filed a counter motion against the injunction. And whilst all this is going on, our students are not being taught, and things that are supposed to go on to keep education moving is not happening. So we want to look at this to see ways to prevent them from occurring again. Obviously, a strike does not last forever, and as we all see, as time goes on, things happen, and then the teachers go back to teaching and students also go back to learning. But what we are saying is, if these issues are solved amicably and the right way, there wouldn't be a need for the strike to even go on. If it is true that the 2012 salary levels have to be restored, then it should be restored, and it shouldn't reach that level where people will have to go on strike before it is settled. Now, in some proceedings before, you would be delighted to know that the counsel for UTAG, Mr. Kelly Delata, looked at how to move an application for the court to set aside their earlier order by an ex-party application. But the counsel for the National Labour Commission objected to the move. So it was in this case of the NLC that they needed the council for the UTAG to do as they had said. Now, they wanted to move this application, and according to the NLC, it had not been certified, when you look at their order of 2014 point I, um, they had to look at certain things to bring into order. When you look at order 20 in brackets number 5 of CI 47 of the High Court Civil Procedure, the rules of the 2012 that states that subject to rule 6, an affidavit shall be signed by the deponent and the jurat shall be completed, and it had to be signed by the person before whom it was sworn. So all these issues and all these laws and all these things which are confusing not only some of us but some of you who are also listening, it's simply a fight for one party to retain its grounds. So whilst the UTAG wants to um, continue with the strike, the NLC wants to force them back to work. So that's what it's been. They've been going up and down, addressing the issues and the affidavits that have been sworn, and also they've been looking at the date when it was sworn, comparing it to the names and also the title of the person before whom it was sworn before such proceedings would go to the next level. Now, back then, according to the NLC, that section was instructive in nature and therefore the application, according to them, was not properly laid before the court. So, because of these things that were stipulated, the NLC urged the court not to allow the counsel for the UTAG to move the application. Good. Now, in response to what the NLC stated, the counsel for UTAG, which is the University Teachers Association of Ghana, objected to it, and according to them also, every document they had attached to all these legal processes were stamped by the Registrar of Oaths. So they claimed if the Registrar of Oaths, who has knowledge of all these proceedings and all these sections and all these confusing numbers which we've mentioned, or that what, if this Registrar of Oaths has signed to it, there was no need for these NLC people to come and bring these claims and all these title and names that they claim were supposed to be procedures that were supposed to be followed before anything could be moved. So it's now like this person is showing their point here, and that person is also bringing their grounds with regards to what they know is powerful and who has more power and what should be done and what should not be done. So previously, after Justice Abaje listened to both sides, he said that he was not minded not to strike out the case, but he gave the UTAG an opportunity to come properly, because he has to make sure that it's not just a matter of speech or a matter of what one person is presenting, but he wants them to come out well so that he will know the next action to take. When you look at the way the court gave the provision for these two parties, it was making it in such a way that the section was mandatory and ought to be fulfilled. So for those of you who have been going to court, you know what we are talking about. Now they were doing it to the end that the lawyer for the National Labour Commission would bring his issues clearly and what they wanted to be done. In the same way, also the lawyer for the UTAG would do his part to come clearly on what they want to be done. So, all in all, the lawyer for the NLC asked the court to demand a 10,000 Ghana CD cost against UTAG on grounds that the case was of public interest. So look at the amount that was mentioned again: 10,000 Ghana CDs against UTAG. You remember UTAG is the one who filed the case and who's going to on strike because of the problems that they are facing. But the NLC is claiming that they should be slapped with a 10,000 Ghana CD cost. Now the UTAG also agrees that the NLC deserves some cost and they are offering to give them only 500 Ghana cedis as cost. So when all this cost and things were being brought about, the Justice Abuaje awarded a cost of 3,000. He looked at the two amounts and then he gave 3,000 in favor of the National Labour Commission. So all this has happened about a month or two ago, and the case has been on and off for a while. And now, so far, many were hoping that the UTAG will come back and move the application, and things will be back to the way it is now. Before we even go ahead, let's look at this. The students in our nation have no hand in this. Remember that the students are innocent. Whether someone is being paid or not, the students have got nothing to do with it. The students are those who have paid their monies to come to school, but they are the ones who are being affected. We think at this point there has to be some structure in place whereby when such things happen, these students won't be affected. Because whether somebody is being paid their salary or not, the students are still paying their fees. You get it? And we will not blame the UTAG, neither will we blame the NLC, but we are looking at those vulnerable people who have no hand in any of these troubles, and yet are suffering the consequences. A parent knows that he has paid the tuition fees of his ward, of whoever he has sent to the university. He knows he has bought the books that are required. He knows that he has paid for the hostel facilities and all these things that are required for his ward to get the education that is needed. But because of some issues between UTAG and government and people's salaries and interest and all of these things, all those monies and all those efforts that have been put by the parents into the students' education comes to nothing when such strikes and such problems become serious. Now, whilst these governing bodies are arguing their cases out in court, the students are not being taught. So, what can we do to change this narrative? Should we get some temporary type of teachers to be giving these students some form of education in the meantime, or is there some other form of way we can do to compensate the students too? Are we also looking at the parents who are using their hard-earned incomes to produce the education that their children need, and yet are not getting the right rewards for it? All these are questions that we have to look at and assess, because this is not the first time UTAG has been on strike. This is not the first time we've had issues like this. This is not the first time people have decided to sit down and not to move further because their needs have not been met. I mean, when it was in September, when we heard the strike was going to last till January, we were like, wow, again, yeah, it happens. Different governments come to power, and due to one reason or the other, teachers go on strike, and the governing bodies of these teachers as well also go on strike. So it's been the case before, but we don't have to play with the education of our students. These are those who are going to handle the economy. These are those who are going to lead the nation in the future. If we give them crappy education at this point, we should not blame them in the future when they don't lead the country the way they are supposed to lead it. So we would like the right authorities to do the things that are supposed to be done, so that all these things will not be an issue that will continue to occur in our nations. In the meantime, we do hope that all will be well with UTAG, with the NLC, and also with the students of these schools. Okay, so let us see your comments about what you think about this strike, this 2021 strike of the UTAG, and also about the NLC involvement. And you can also give us your views about the ways to go to make this a thing of the past and to make things better for such students who are vulnerable. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.